Hey everyone, I got my friend Laura joining me for this walk tonight, and I was just about to tell her that I once saw orange orbs off into this side. I first saw one right here, and then it traveled 10 meters up, like someone right there. Then it traveled 10 meters up there, and then it happened right here.
And when it traveled, was it going up the road or was it going through the
Going
trees?
in through the bush, and like my original thought was like it was a deer.
Yes, like two eyes
Yeah,
close together.
like it's my first thought, but it was larger than eye shine. And it didn't make any noise crashing through the bush, and it traveled 10 meters really, really fast, right? It was like it was following me.
Did they stay the same distance apart the whole time?
No,
So definitely not like animal eyes then.
no, it didn't come across that for sure. So the reason why the light looks a little different is because I got my red light on, and Laura, you have a blue light on?
I think it's the greenish blue light.
Greenish
Yeah.
blue light? Okay. So that's why it looks a little different. It's about 8 degrees, I think. Or maybe actually about 10 or 11. And it's cloudy, so it's a warmer night out. Now, Laura, you were saying earlier on how you tend to attract orbs.
Well, I can't say for sure, but in environments I was in before, I used to work in a remote fishing camp environment. Seemed that most of the experiences happened to me. Now, I can't say whether that's because my mind was more open towards it and translating phenomena according to that. However, there was also some coworkers I had who adamantly said, I don't believe in this paranormal stuff, and these same occurrences happened to them.
Yeah. It's going to stop right here. I was going to get a different light going on here.
Mm-hmm.
We still have red. There we go. Just need a little bit more light, shows up better on camera. There's another trail right down here. One day I want to do a video walking down there. This trail takes about half an hour, but it's really, really nice. Come on, Bubs, this way. Now, further up here, it's where I got those videos of those Sasquatch or Sabe looking footprints. I'll show you where those are. But you're saying at work, a lot of your coworkers didn't say they believed in those things?
Yeah, some people, they were, after I spoke about my experiences, they wouldn't say, oh, you're lying, or make fun of me, but they would just express, oh, I don't believe in those sorts of things. Maybe there was some other explanation. And then they would see a similar phenomena, and then they either wouldn't speak of it again, or they just, it just was what it was to them. Some people just aren't willing to discuss things on spiritual terms, or that's just not how they see the world, right?
Yeah. This is the spot where I saw those Sabe Sasquatch looking footprints, was right here in the winter. I brought an elder here once, and the elder actually told me that there is a Sabe that lives here. The funny thing is, my wife and I, when we used to go walking out here, sometimes when you go walking, if you want to warn a bear that you're in the area, you yell at "Whoa, bear." Well, we would yell at "Whoa, Sabe." And then a year later, an elder told me that, oh, you shouldn't do that. You've called a Sabe to you. I'll show you this spot up here. Now, apparently this is, I hope I'm doing this with respect, because you gotta be respectful. This is the spot where, apparently where the Sabe is, up here.
Okay.
I've made offerings to the Sabe here. Maybe we can go up here and just try being quiet.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. I was talking to an elder knowledge keeper today at work, and they asked me, and I say this with the utmost respect. As a matter of fact, I'm going to offer some tobacco before I discuss this. Can you?
Yeah. Oh, I can also put some down as well.
Because I don't want to say or do anything that's disrespectful. Spirits.
Yeah, mine's in my bag.
So Elora and I actually work together, and we're friends. So, which is nice, right? Because quite often, with where we work, we can share similar experiences. Because where we work, like I said before, we're guided by spirits, and oftentimes things will happen where we work, where it's like, "Yep, not surprised that happened." Can totally get it. So I was talking to a knowledge keeper elder today, and they asked me if I'd seen or heard anything lately. I'm like, no, I haven't since I saw that glowing orb in the sky. And then he asked me, like, do you live near water? I'm like, yeah, I live near water. Not waterfront, but, we're very, very close to the water. He goes, well, maybe there's a sacred burial ground near you. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. O'Neill, I was just about to ask you, this pathway here, do you know if this is some sort of historical road for logging or some other colonial intrusion?
There actually is in colonial intrusion up here because there's a tower.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bell tower, I believe it's a bell tower up here.
Because, one thing you frequently hear discussed in the paranormal community is that people say places have memory or spirits may be attached to a certain place after a certain historical event or tragedy or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's many viewpoints on that. But
This is the spot where I was walking in the winter a couple years ago. Was it last year?
mm-hmm.
Where I smelled smudge in the winter.
Oh, okay.
So that happened
Mm-hmm.
right here. And when we get a little bit further up, I actually saw that orb. In my previous videos, you hear me talk about an orb.
Mm-hmm.
And the orb I saw I saw a shooting star, and then I saw an orb underneath it. And I think this a little bit further up is where I first saw it. So something interesting happened at work today. One of the signs of a Sasquatch sabe is strong body odor. And I was actually smelling that at work today. So sometimes where we work, odors or smells will follow us around. I don't know if have you ever experienced that?
Yes, at times. Not necessarily out in the bush, but actually, the other week when we were out in the teaching lodge and you said, oh, did you hear that sound? And I said, I heard only loons out on the water, but I also smelled that suddenly like a pungent, swampy smell just for a moment while we were out there running the session.
Yeah. Pardon me. So right about here, this is right where I saw a shooting star, like right there, and then I saw the white orb happen right about here, and it traveled down the sky, and then it took off, and it split off into two orbs, and the top one was like a brown bluish, and the bottom was an orange color. Happened right around. Yeah. And then I was actually terrified. I was watching this light, and I was crying. I was very emotional. And I asked, who are you? What are you? And I offered my tobacco because I had my tobacco on me. And I just walked towards it. And right about here is where it kind of hovered for a second. And then it shot off towards the east. So right here is where I heard those jingle bell straws. It happened right here. That was terrifying because I heard it because it sounded like Sleigh bells,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, I remember that video. And I'm sure if I came here in the day, it would look totally different.
Oh yeah, it
but,
would.
This area looks a bit kind of patchy and wide open, so
So you can see, like, there's the tower right here, which is a huge intrusion.
yes. And
There's
is
sheds.
that a hydro line it's hooked up to?
Looks like it.
Okay, so yeah, so it's running off of the power line. Yeah. All right, I see. Yeah.
There's a light sensor here that we're going to trip. This is a great spot for berry picking. I didn't tell you that though. So I have this experience when I'm out here sometimes. And you know how your mind will fill in the blank spaces of noise by creating
Yes. for
sounds,
sure.
right? Objectively, that's what your mind does.
Yes, I've experienced that.
So let's just try being quiet for a second and see what we hear. That's the dog. Yeah. Nothing. I heard something rattling, but that could just be the brain, the mind playing tricks on you.
Yeah. And there's a bit of a breeze tonight.
Yeah.
Very little, so we could have some trees rattling in that.
So when I heard those bells, it happened right here. Then I walked further up, and then I heard the bells again a second time. So I actually heard them twice. I hustled home. That was in the winter as well. A knowledge keeper elder did tell me that in the following winter, that's when the majority of these things tend to happen for some reason. Yeah. I'm turning off the light. You can see how dark it is.
Yeah.
Like you can't see the front of her face.
Yeah, it's cloudy.
I had this on
Can't
the
see any stars
camera.
out tonight.
No. This morning I saw Orion, which is pretty cool. Any stories you want to tell?
I don't know if I have any that really match this particular context. But you know, the thing that's striking my mind right now is I spent 2 winters out in the bush north of Wawa alone, right? Now, I didn't go out after dark, but every day I could be out there for hours on my snowmobile, snowshoes, checking on the camp, things like that. And in all that time when I was alone, except for one distinct experience, I never encountered anything which I considered to be a spiritual entity or phenomena that didn't make sense in my logical mind. Almost all of the experiences I've had in my life, they've occurred when I've been very close to other people.
Oh.
So, you know, the peak season when the lodge is at full capacity, say, that's when I've had the most experiences, really. Never when I've been alone in the bush, you know, about 40 kilometers away from the nearest town, right? So, yeah, it's interesting to me that you're having these experiences out here alone for that reason.
Yeah.
You know? Just goes to show how different everyone's viewpoints are and experiences.
I think it's interesting that, you know, the knowledge keeper elder told me that there's could be a burial ground out here.
And you know, I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. That is something maybe we could start looking into historical records for.
Yeah.
Although we don't want to get into the mindset of, you know, a lot of these paranormal investigation TV shows where they're saying, oh, this historical event happened here and that's the cause of all of this. We don't want to commit ourselves to that mindset ahead of time.
So the other interesting thing that happened to me out here in this spot was I heard drumming.
Wow.
And it wasn't, you know, so you know in ceremony when we hear drums, we'll hear the song for like 2 to 5 minutes.
I heard a knock in the distance over that way just now. Did you hear that? could have been a sound more from the road, but it was more of a knocking sound for sure.
So that's something that happens to me all the time when I'm out walking.
Yes. Now it did seem quite distant over that way, not close to us.
Yeah, something's in there.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely something. Objectively, there's something in
For
there.
sure, yes.
We just don't know what it
Physical
is.
animal. Yeah.
Yeah, could be a deer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is a spot where I heard drumming. So you know when we hear drums in ceremonies, we'll hear it for like 2 to 5 minutes a song. This was like 5 beats, like,
Okay.
and then I heard it stop. And I've heard drumming before in lightning,
Oh.
but that was like 10 beats, right? So that's something, another phenomenon that's happened to me out here. There's that trail that we pass on the way to work? I go for walks there a lot, and I hear tree knocks all the time in there, all the time. Like, it'd be like 2? 2 tree knocks in a row?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely heard them, but again, it's typically when I've been exploring the bush with other people. That's the interesting thing. I don't think I've heard many sounds that alarmed me in any way when I'm out alone, interestingly enough.
Pardon me. And objectively, all I can say about this like area, this spot, for whatever reason, is charged with some kind of energy. Because I'm not the only one who's seeing and having experiences out here, right? It's my wife as well. Like, she's seeing things.
Yeah.
Yesterday my son.
What's the circle thing?
Oh, that's just a neighbor.
It's a tire reflecting.
Yesterday my son we were sitting in the living room, and my son, for whatever reason, looked down the hallway and yelled out, "Bear! Bear!" like 3 times. Terrified. He was terrified. He said he saw a bear in the house.
Wow.
Like, well, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
I didn't read anything into it, because you know how the kids' imaginations.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No, my son's 2, right? Like, how well developed is a 2-year-old's imagination where he says he sees a bear in the house? He sees makwa. Okay, so I usually end the videos here. Hey, thanks, Laura, for coming out.
You're welcome.
Hope you enjoyed. You kind of got to see some of the areas where you hear me talk about all the time. All right.
Yeah, for sure. It helps to contextualize things.
See you, folks.